Right, I've got 4 questions here which I want you to ask yourself, and you're going to use these questions. These are going to tell you how likely you are to actually get a degree apprenticeship. Okay, just answer these 4 questions. It's going to tell you how likely you think you are. So, first question is: have you ever done an interview before? Any sort of interview, whether that's for a part-time job, whether that's for your sixth form, or anything like that. Have you ever done an interview before? Just have a think about that. Okay. Now, so the next question, have you ever done a degree apprenticeship interview specifically? So specifically a degree apprenticeship. So the first question was, have you done one in general ever? Like a university one, a school one, a part-time job, McDonald's, Greg's, whatever it is. Have you ever done an interview? This one now, have you ever done a degree apprenticeship interview before? Okay. And let's move on to the next question now. If I were to put you into a degree apprenticeship interview right now on the spot, how confident would you feel? On a scale from 1 to 10. On a scale from 1, I would literally have a panic attack and run. I'd literally end the call. I have no idea what I'm doing. To 10 out of 10, yeah, this would be a breeze. I'd absolutely walk it. Where would you say you are on that 1 to 10 scale? Okay, final question then. If we were to sort of hypothesize here, make a prediction, and being completely and brutally honest, if we were to make this prediction over the next 6 to 12 months, what percentage chance do you think it is? How likely do you think you are to get into a degree apprenticeship? Be brutally honest with yourself. Have a think about it. Do you think 100% you're getting a degree apprenticeship, this is going to be easy, you're going to walk it? Do you think 0% there's no chance of getting a degree apprenticeship? 50% it's a bit 50-50, I'm not really sure. 70% it's like, yeah, I'll probably get it, something could go wrong, but I'll probably. Or is it like 20%, 30%, I'm probably not going to get into one unless something changes? Okay, so now that you've had to think about those sort of 4 questions there, that last question, that question in general about sort of what's your percentage chance in the degree apprenticeship application process, that is going to correlate to your answers to the other questions, okay? Because, for example, in those previous questions, if you said you've never done an interview before, you're like a 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 on confidence with the interviews, there's no way in that final question you then went and said, oh, I'm 100% going to get a degree apprenticeship, oh, I'm 90% going to get a degree apprenticeship. It's like, if you were saying that you'd never done interviews before and you're not very confident with interviews, your answer's going to be like 20, 30%, 40%, right? It's going to be a low answer alongside that. Maybe 50%. But if you've done loads of interviews before, you're 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 confident with interviews, your answers for actually getting a degree apprenticeship overall is probably going to be super high, like 100%, 90%, that sort of thing. So you see how they're correlated. Your answers, most likely, for your chance of getting a degree apprenticeship was directly correlated with your confidence in the interview. Because you know that the interview is a key part of the degree apprenticeship application process. It's a key part of it. Every single degree apprenticeship, you're going to have to do an interview, among other things, as the final stage. You're going to have to nail that interview. These degree apprenticeships are really competitive. They might have 100 other people applying for the same role as you, for the same one role. So you essentially have to beat 99 other people to get that job. So if genuinely 1 out of 100, if there's any out of those 99 which are better than you at interviews, they might get the job. Okay. So I just want to do that exercise just to show to you how important it is being good in interviews and being confident with interviews is. Even if you've had little experience of interviews beforehand, if you can get to a place where you're confident, you're happy with them, it's massively going to help with your applications. Okay. So in today's video, what we're going to cover is where you are going wrong with interviews and what to do about it. Because as I said, interviews are so crucial, so important. If you can't do interviews, chances are you're probably not going to get a degree apprenticeship, okay? So you need to learn how to do interviews well. So here's where you're going wrong with interviews and what you can do about it, okay? That's what I'm going to cover in today's video. Now, just before we do get into that, let me just introduce myself in case you've never stumbled across any of my videos before. My name's Owen. I'm a degree apprentice and I help people get degree apprenticeships in the engineering, technology and finance industries. Here are a couple of my students that I helped get into degree apprenticeships last year, companies like JLR, Bank of England, KPMG, Amazon, which you can see here. And then also I've put together a whole other bunch of testimonials. There's just loads of them here. So JLR, Amazon, Rolls-Royce, Airbus, HSBC, Deutsche Bank. These are all just the ones I could find sort of in 10 minutes when I was putting all these screenshots together, essentially. Those are some of the people I've helped get into degree apprenticeships and that sort of thing. One final sort of link to you then, just before we get into the video then. If you are interested in sort of, well, becoming one of these testimonials next year, where you're telling me, oh, Owen, thanks, I got the job, it was really helpful, the help you gave me, then what you can do is you can go and join my coaching program. This is where it's a one-to-one coaching program. You get messaging with me, you get calls with me. We can jump on a mock interview. I'm going to give you that one-to-one feedback, give you that sort of level of feedback and analysis, which I'm not able to give through a YouTube video. I already have a number of students in that coaching program, and I've been giving them mock interviews. And 2 of them here, they said that the mock interview they did with me was really helpful for their JP Morgan phone interview, and they've now actually made it into their JP Morgan assessment center because of the preparation I gave them. So if you want to go and join that, the link will be in the description. But now let's get into this video then. So here's where you're going wrong with interviews and what to do about it, okay? So with interviews, there's essentially two parts of an interview, and you need to have both parts, okay? There's two essentially skills, that's what I call it. There's two skills you need to have, two things you need to be good at. If you have one but not the other, it's not going to work. If you have one but not the other, it's not going to work. And if you have none of them, yeah, you got no chance, okay? So I want you to think now about your interviews, okay? Going into a degree apprenticeship interview. How do you feel about going into a degree apprenticeship interview right now? How confident do you feel? Would you feel nervous? Would you feel scared? How confident are you with sort of jumping on a call with anyone? Just going in, if you had to jump on a call with some random person and talk to them for like 60 minutes. How would you feel about that? Okay, because this is essentially what this first one is about. These two parts that you need for doing well in an interview. Let me just put number 2 there. The first thing you need is delivery. Okay, these are the two important things they're going to be assessing you on in the interview. Okay, the first one is delivery, and this is crucial because if you don't have a good delivery, you're not going to the answer's not going to be very good. Okay, and by delivery I mean your communication skills, how you're talking, how you're presenting yourself. Okay. So, for example, when it comes down to delivery, this is things like confidence. Okay, it's your communication skills. I have some of the students in my program who, when they joined the program, they were sort of, I could tell over the screen, they're very nervous, very quiet, very sort of shy. So you could go as far as saying, like, I sort of, a couple of my students were like this. I just predicted they were introverts. Like, you're introverted, like I'm an introvert, right? But the problem is, you don't necessarily want to come across as introverted because it just doesn't show that confidence. It doesn't show that you're confident about what you can bring to this role. It doesn't show you that you're going to fit well in a team. It's like if you're introverted, you're not very good at speaking. They're like, okay, but you're not going to integrate very well into the team. You're not going to be able to make decisions. You're not going to be able to lead teams. You're not going to be able to lead projects. You're not going to be able to get this work done, communicate to our clients, communicate to other team members if you're introverted and quiet. So I'm actually an introverted person, by the way. But when I'd be doing interviews, I'd bring about that energy and bring about that sort of confidence to make it seem like I was almost extroverted. Like, honestly, you can ask any of my friends. It's like, I'm introverted. If you can give me any like situation, like there's an evening free, do you either go and talk to a whole bunch of people or just stay at home on your own and do something? I'm much happier just sort of on my own, right? But it's about just having this, presenting yourself as confident with this delivery. Okay, so confidence is a key one there. Because confidence is really important for the workplace. They don't want someone who's like scared to do anything, essentially. Nervous, stuttering, right? And stuttering, a lot of it comes from just the nerves and the confidence. It's not like, for most people, it's not like you always stutter when you speak. It's like if I was probably in a normal conversation with you, you wouldn't be stuttering. You'd be absolutely fine. So it's not a problem with your actual speech. It's not a speech problem. What it is, it's a confidence problem. Because this stutter just happens all of a sudden when you get jumped into the interview. Another one's ums and ers. And this sort of thing. Okay, these are the sort of things that are to do with delivery. Some of you might be watching this video and this isn't a problem at all, in which case we'll get onto the second one, which might be your sort of constraint and where you're going wrong with interviews. But essentially, this is a lot of people. And I get it, right? Because it's like, most people have never done interviews before. Maybe they've done like 1 or 2 for a part-time job, but never done a serious interview like this before. So it can be quite sort of daunting, kind of scary and that sort of thing. So really for delivery, what do you need to do then, essentially, to improve your delivery? It's as simple as practice. You just need to practice. Like, there's no easy answer to this one. Anything you're ever scared of or not confident with, the only way to not become scared of it is just to do it. So I used to be sort of scared of public speaking. Like really, really scared. Like I remember going for the week leading up to my year 10, like the English speaking presentation you do in year 10. Basically where you do it in like groups of 5 in front of the teacher. That's how we did it. It was like the class was like separated into like 6 groups, 5 people plus a teacher. You go into a room for like 45 minutes, an hour, all do your English speaking presentations, right? I remember the week leading up to this, I was dreading it the entire week. Every single evening I was terrified. Just in like the 7 days leading up to it, I was terrified. I was genuinely thinking, like, these were thoughts that were going around my head. This is worse than like actual exam week, right? Like the week where I have to go and do this English speaking presentation where I have to speak in front of 5 people plus my teacher, that is scarier than exam week. I'd rather have a whole week of GCSE exams right now than go and do this. That's how scared I used to be with public speaking. But I went and did it anyway, right? And then I've been, for example, it would have been year 12, I had to go speak in whole school assembly in front of however many hundreds of people, standing there beforehand, like sort of waiting for assembly to start before like going in and saying what I need to say. I was terrified. I'll honestly be, I was terrified, but I went and did it anyway. And now I'm not scared of public speaking. It's like now I've been back to my school and given talks in front of, again, hundreds of people, and it's absolutely fine because it all just comes about with practice. It's the only way you can get rid of a fear, is just exposing you to the fear and practicing it. So whether you're not confident, whether you're nervous, whether you're stuttering, it's all about practicing until your delivery gets good enough. There's no quick like Thanos click, boom, you're the sickest person at interviews. It gets built up over time. It's like if I got a video of myself, just my speaking ability now, and then a video of myself from like 6 years ago, it'd be like, you'd think it's ridiculous. Like the way I can speak now, but that's because I've been filming YouTube videos for however many months, 12 months or something. So now I've got my speaking ability to now. You should go and watch like the first ever videos on my YouTube channel. They were so cringy to watch. I remember the first one, I was just cringing out, just watching. I had to make so many cuts. Like now I do these sort of full length Loom videos, essentially where it's just completely uncut. I just do the whole thing. The reason I do these is because I found that a lot of you guys give good feedback on these because it means I'm giving you the raw education rather than sort of just some random edited stuff. I'm cutting out half the stuff. It's like now you're getting as much raw education. I'm giving everything I can. It's like I can go off on tangents in videos now because I'm just doing a full thing, nothing to edit and all that sort of thing. That's why I do these. But I never could have done them. Those first videos I was doing, genuinely, it's like I'd be filming like it was supposed to be like a 15-20 minute video, and like the overall length of the video would be 40 minutes. Like think about that. I'd film like 40 minutes of video, and when I edited it out and edited out all the bad bits, it would literally cut down all the way to 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So it literally means over half of what I was saying was a load of rubbish. But now it's like I just do these unedited ones with the whole thing, and it's like 100% of what I say is like pretty good. It's like there's times when I mess up, but like who really cares? And this has only come through doing this for 12 months. It doesn't come straight away. So if it's your delivery, have a think about this. If it's your delivery you're struggling with, you just need to go and practice it. Practice your answers. Whether it's your friends, it's your family. As I said, I do sort of a coaching program where I help people practice, but it doesn't even have to be that if you don't want it to be. Okay, just go and practice these answers. It can't even be to yourself. This is what I did. I sort of just practiced all my answers to myself so that my delivery could get better. Okay. The next one then. So if you're absolutely fine with delivery, like you don't have a problem with speaking, you're all good with that sort of thing, then the problem's going to be your answers. Okay. Because yeah, you're fine with speaking, but what comes out your mouth is a load of rubbish. Essentially, if your constraint is answers. Now, if your constraint is neither of these, then essentially what you're telling me is you're a master at degree apprenticeship interviews, in which case, awesome. That's great to hear. So it sounds like you're all good then. And you should go and smash these interviews and smash these assessment centers and get the offers. Perfect. But if your constraint is one of these, then you need to work on these. So with your answers, it's like waffling. Okay, going on tangents. Not answering the question. This is a key one. So in my coaching program, when I've been doing mock interviews with people, not answering the question has been a key one. So I've asked them a question like, why did you apply for this role? And they start talking about their strengths. And they start talking about, oh, so I'm really good at communication skills. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I suppose it could be relevant, but if I'm specifically asking, why did you apply for this role? I want you to tell me, why do you want to do this degree apprenticeship? What is the reason for it? Not like why you'd be a good fit, why you're good at communication, whatever. I want to know why you've applied for this role. Answer the question. And this is, I'll just give you a bonus tip here. You need to really think about this in interviews, because if you're scripting your answers to common questions sort of beforehand, then sometimes if a similar question comes up, you might answer that question instead of what was asked. Let me give you an example. So a common interview question is, what is a challenge you expect to face in a degree apprenticeship? Okay, you know what? Pause the video right now. Just give this a go. Just complete action step right now. What challenges do you expect to face in a degree apprenticeship? Over to you. Okay, so that question is specifically asking about the challenges to do with a degree apprenticeship. Okay, and the most sort of common thing you can say to that question is, I expect the challenge to be the workload, because I know that I'm studying for a degree alongside doing the projects at work, so that workload could potentially be a challenge. However, I think I'm in a good place to deal with this because I have had experience of working on multiple projects at once at the same time. So for example, back in 2023, this is when I had my A levels, I also had my music exam, and I also had some sport that I was doing. So I had to manage those and make sure I'd complete all of those on time. So I think I'd be well placed with these time management skills and with these organisation skills to handle this workload and thrive in this degree apprenticeship. That's sort of the common answer you could say. I was on a mock interview with one of my students about 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I asked the question, what do you expect to be the challenges with working within a team? Okay, it's a slight difference. Okay, the first question was, like the one which he had prepared was, what challenge do you expect to face in a degree apprenticeship in general? But this specific one was, what do you expect to face within working within a team? But he didn't notice that. He didn't clock that. So he just answered the normal question, what do you expect to be the challenge in a degree apprenticeship, and said something about the workload or whatever, which hasn't answered the question, because I was asking specifically, what is the challenge you expect to face within a team? So you really need to make sure you listen to the question very, very, very carefully. Okay, if they ask the question, you're still not sure, go and ask for them to ask it again. That's absolutely fine. I did that all the time in my interviews, ask them to ask the question again. It buys you time to think, and also means you can get that question clarified. Okay? Going on tangents, not answering the question, waffling, bad structure. Right, I'll give you another one. No concluding sentence. So some people, they do their answers and they sort of stop midway. Let me think of an example. So say the question is, what are your strengths? And you start talking about your strengths in sort of the last couple of sentences. And I believe that another one of my strengths is time management skills. So I've actually developed these time management skills when I've been doing my A levels and when I've been completing online courses. And then you stop there. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because you're just stopping in the middle of an answer for no reason. And it seems like it's just odd. I'll be honest, it's really odd. You want to have a concluding sentence to every single question. Get in the habit of this. Okay, so for some of my students now, I've been sort of repeating this over the past month, and they've been sort of drilling it. They're now sort of getting into a good habit of doing a concluding sentence at the end of each answer. Okay, so for that question, what are your strengths? You talk about your strength, this. Your final one's time management, and I've been developing this time management skills through my A levels and other work. So overall, I would say those are my 4 main strengths that I could bring to this degree apprenticeship. It's like a summary sentence. You sort of just repeat the question to just sort of summarize and conclude it off. Okay, and overall, that's why I think I'd be a good fit for this role. So yeah, that's the time when I worked as a team. It's as simple as this. It's nothing complicated. Just sort of repeat the question, conclude, but it's going to make your answer like genuinely 50% better, because like psychologically, people remember the start of things, people remember the end of things. And when they're sort of marking down your answer, or jotting down what you've said, or marking it in the matrix or whatever, the end of your answer is going to be very, very prominent in their head. And if in your answer you just finish randomly weirdly and it was all sort of weird, they're going to be thinking about that when they're marking you, and you're going to get marked down. So do a concluding sentence like that. Okay? But those are the key things there with sort of your answers. Okay? Not thinking of answers. Because there's common questions which they can ask you in interviews, right? Which you want to be prepared for. But they can also do completely unexpected ones. Completely unexpected ones. And you need to be able to think of them on the spot. So if this is your constraint, you think it's answers, then the first thing is go and script answers to the common questions. Okay? So this means there's a whole list of common questions which I think I've covered in other videos, and it's these things like, why would you be a good fit for the role? What is your weakness? What are your strengths? What challenges do you expect to face? Why do you want to work for this company? Why do you want to do a degree apprenticeship? Tell me about time you worked as a team. Tell me about time when you were a leader. Tell me about time when you solved a problem. All these sorts of common questions. Write them all in a document and sort of start writing answers to it. I won't say script, because you don't want to like write it word for word and then just read it off, because trust me, it doesn't work. Because that's where you get into the same thing as before, not answering the question. Because if you have a scripted answer out, they ask a slightly similar question, but it's slightly different. You'll start using your scripted answer, and then you'll realize afterwards that their answer was slightly different, because you were just relying on your scripted one, you didn't tailor it to their question. So you want to bullet point answers to the common questions, just to give you sort of structure. Genuinely, something like just 3 bullet points, like I'm going to talk this, I'm going to talk about this, and then I'm going to talk about this. Okay, so if it's like, what are your strengths? This is how I would bullet point it, like problem solving, communication, collaboration, time management. Boom. And just go and do that for all the common questions. And then it's practice. Because again, it's like anyone can go and bullet point the answers to the common questions. That's one thing. Sure, you've now got your structures planned out. So you've got a good structure, you've got good answers, right? But then when it comes into the interview, and then you don't know how to actually like go into detail on those. Like you've got the structure, but now you don't know how to talk about those. Or the answer, or what happens if you can't find your Notion document, or they ask a slightly different question, or they ask a completely different question. And this is the problem with just relying on a structure or just relying on bullet points and sort of relying on just pre-prepared stuff. Is the problem is this leaves you vulnerable to when something completely unexpected happens, like a completely new question. You have no idea how to answer it because you're reliant on those questions. So that's why this bullet pointing thing. This is not something that you're gonna rely on in your interview. I would not recommend it at all. It's something you do at the start. So do it at the start just to get you started so you can start practicing. But then literally within a couple of weeks, within a month, you'll be able to get rid of this and you won't need it anymore. So when I was going into my interviews, I didn't use any like sort of notes in terms of questions. Like I had my CV with me. I had like my research note with me in terms of the company in case I needed to quickly refer to anything. But I didn't like have a list of like the questions and how I was going to answer them. That was all up here in my head because I'd practiced it so much. And it means when they ask me that question, it's like I could just go up here, retrieve it from the database, boom, there's your answer. It's like genuinely, when they'd ask some of these common questions, I'd be like, yes! Do you know what I mean? That's how you want to be. When they ask a question like these common questions, like why do you want to work for this degree apprenticeship? That should be a get-in moment for you. If they ask that question in your mind, you're like, oh my days, why has he asked that one? Why do you have to do that one? You haven't prepared enough. You haven't practiced enough. Every time they ask you a common one of those questions, there should be a mini celebration in your head before you answer that. Because it means, yep, this is what I've prepared. This is easy. This is 3 marks. I've practiced this like 10 times in a row. This is the easiest thing I've done. Boom, let's go do it. Because that's a good thing. Because the alternative is they give you some load of random questions which you have to think about on the spot. Which obviously is a bit more difficult. But that's why it's important to practice the interview skill. Not just script your answers. Because anyone can script your answers. You can probably go on Google and just ask for, like, you ask ChatGPT, oh, how would I answer these questions? ChatGPT would probably be bad at it, just like a general thing. ChatGPT doesn't know what it's doing with degree apprenticeships, right? But you go and just Google, oh, here's like a script of interview answers. That's still not going to help you in the interview because you don't have that interview skill. You don't know how to convert that into a good answer. You don't know how to answer questions that aren't scripted. The moment that script goes away, you have no idea what you're doing. It's like going to, I don't know, China, right? Let's say you go to China with the Google Translate app. It's like, boom, perfect. Google Translate, yep. Okay, here's the airport. Here's the shopping centre. Turn left. 2nd Street on your right. Can I order some rice? Right? Easy, fine. But say you're in China. You've been relying on Google Translate. And then your phone breaks. And you're in the middle of China. With no phone, no Google Translate. It's going to be a bit dodgy. Because you're not going to be able to read anything. You have no idea what to do. Because you've been so reliant on that phone. It's like now that the phone and Google Translate disappears, you've got nothing. Same with DOV. It's like, say you're going with like an instructor and he, like you're climbing Mount Everest, right? You go with like one of those, what are they called? Can't remember what they're called to be fair. Like the locals who, what are they called? Nah, I can't remember. But you're going with like one of the locals with Everest. They're taking you up the mountain. Say he just dies halfway up, and you're literally halfway up a mountain. You're literally not a mountaineer. You're screwed. You're screwed because there's no way you're getting down that mountain now on your own because you have no idea what you're doing because you relied on that instructor guy, and now he's dead. You're dead. So you can't rely on this script because what happens when everything goes off the script? What happens when everything goes differently? When everything changes? That's why it's so important to have this interview skill rather than just script. Here are the questions, script. Because when it changes, you've got to be ready to adapt. That's what the interview skill is for. That's what practice is for. And if you want practice, if you want to develop your interview skills so that you can handle all different sorts of questions, so you can be confident, so you can structure your answers well, that's what we cover in my coaching program. You get one-on-one calls with, whoa, that just interrupted me. Sorry about that. You get one-on-one calls with me. You get group calls. And also, there's a mock video interview where I'll analyse your answers and give you feedback on those. Apologies for the interruption there. So I hope this video has been useful. And I hope it sort of diagnosed your problem, whether it's delivery, whether it's answers, and you know what to focus on. And if you want more support with this to sort of help you get better at these interviews in a faster time period, you can go click the link in the description. See you in a bit.